I don't know what you need. I don't know if you need nitrogen. I don't know if you need phosphorus. Look, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Using all-purpose fertilizer is not doing in your garden what you think it's doing. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I don't recommend using all-purpose fertilizer and what I recommend instead. And so if you want to build healthier soil for your garden this upcoming summer, this upcoming fall, this is the video for you. We're going to talk about soil, what it is, why you need healthy soil, and how to get it. If you are new to this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Barbara. I'm in Tennessee. I have been gardening now for the last 5 years. This is my 6th year gardening. And one thing that I have learned over the course of time and on this journey is that soil is the foundation of your garden. So let's talk about soil, what it is and what it isn't. If you are new, say hello in the comments. Let me know that you are new. Tell me what city and state and country you're coming in from so I can say hello back. And if you've been here before, you guys have heard me talk about soil, but not on this level. So I cannot wait to dive into this topic when it comes to soil. So in this video, I cannot possibly go into all the mechanics when it comes to soil and give you all the data that I want to give you in a short time frame. So what I've done is I've actually created a guide, a digital workbook that talks about how to build healthy soil, how to improve your soil, and how to have bigger and better gardens. And so I'm going to put a picture of it up right here, and the link will be in the first comment and also in the description box. You can buy this guide for literally $19, and it is going to walk you through everything when it comes to soil. So if you have been struggling with your soil, or you've been struggling with your plants having abundance, or you've been struggling with your plants looking healthy, this is the guide for you. In this guide, I walk through all of the stuff that I cannot share on this video. I talk about what soil is. I talk about the 3 main things that soil needs. I also talk about soil testing. I talk about the macronutrients and the micronutrients that soil needs. I tell you about what to amend your beds with if it's lacking nitrogen, what to amend with if it's lacking in phosphorus. I go through all of it in great detail. When you purchase, it'll be an instant digital download. You will have it from now until years to come, and you can always refer back to it. It is in color. It is easy to read. Again, all of the information that you need on how to build soil is in this guide. In this video, though, I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights and talk about this notion of using all-purpose fertilizer and why I don't recommend it. Now, I think that all-purpose fertilizer has its place, and I have used it before, but let me tell you when I used all-purpose fertilizer, when I was first starting gardening and I had no clue what to do. So an all-purpose fertilizer is just that. It's a catch-all, right? It's going to give you some fertilization, but it does not do what you think it's doing because it does not know your soil and what your soil needs. I've talked on this channel for the last 3 years about getting a soil test. I'm very passionate when it comes to getting a soil test. And so I want to spend a few minutes talking about me doing my soil test this year, what it revealed for me, and why an all-purpose fertilizer would not work for me, and the same reason why it's not going to work for you. I usually do my soil test in March before the summer season gets going. And so doing the soil test, I've mentioned before that I use my soil test kit. You can get it in my Amazon shop or you can go on their website, but it's simple and easy to use. I have used my local co-op when I first started gardening, but this to me is an easier and a quicker turnaround. So I just use my soil test. But basically I go around to all of my garden spaces and I gather soil from at least 5 or 6 spaces throughout wherever I'm getting the test done. I gather that dirt up and I mix it all together so it's like one blended mix. And then I add the soil mixture to it, and then I put it for packaging, and then I send it off. And literally in like 4 or 5 days, I have my results digitally, which I love. And then I can compare year to year about how my soil has changed, improved, adjusted, and all of that good stuff. And so it's a great way for me to know and pinpoint exactly what my crops need and what my soil needs. And so when you use an all-purpose fertilizer, usually you're going to get something that's like a 10-10-10, meaning it's 10 nitrogen, 10 phosphorus, and 10 potassium. And on the surface, that sounds really good. You're like, okay, I'm getting all the things. Like it is going to do exactly what I need to do, and my crops are going to be looking great. But you can use an all-purpose fertilizer and still not have great results, because what if that's not what your soil needs? So let's take a look and talk about my specific soil results for my soil test this year. So my soil test this year, I did my in-ground hot in-ground spaces in the hot tunnel, and I did my outside garden. That's what I did for this particular conversation, or for this soil test. And so both of those showed that my soil is depleted when it comes to nitrogen. Like, it's almost at a 0. Okay. And then also it is very, very low in potassium. Right. And so if I were to use an all-purpose fertilizer, a 10-10-10 blend, or a 5-5-5, is it going to give me nitrogen? Yes. Is it going to give me potassium? Yes. But it's also going to give me phosphorus, which I'm high in. And so it's going to give me more phosphorus, and then I'm still going to be unbalanced, if that makes sense. Versus when I do a soil test, I know exactly what my soil needs. So instead of me putting down an all-purpose fertilizer as a catch-all, I'm going to specifically amend my soil with nitrogen sources and with potassium sources. That's going to make a huge difference in my overall soil. Now let's take another example. Let's say that you got your soil test back, and let's say it's high in nitrogen, it's high in phosphorus, and only low in potassium. When you use like a 10-10-10 blend or an all-purpose fertilizer, you are now again upsetting the apple cart, because you're giving it more nitrogen, more phosphorus, and only a little bit of potassium. And so your levels are still not going to be in balance. Or let's say that your soil is acidic and you don't know that, right? So you should be adding other stuff. So I want you to think back to a time, if you grew up with more than one sibling, right? And let's say that one of the siblings had done something wrong. I'll use a specific example. When I was growing up, I'm the youngest of 5 children. There were many times that somebody, one of the 5, no names gonna be given, would do something, right? My mom would come in the room and say, who did X? And of course, 5 kids, everybody is zip. Mom is the word. Like, I'm not telling on them. They not telling on me. Like, everybody's quiet because they don't want to fess up and say, it was me. So what did my mama say? Somebody gonna tell me who did X, Y, and Z, or you all are gonna get a whooping, right? That's like all-purpose fertilizer. Like, there's one of you, there's one of you that did the thing. But since the one of you won't talk and the other 4 won't tell, then that means all of you gonna get it. And all of a sudden, birds, like birds, they start singing, and it wasn't me. It was him. It was him. It was him, right? Because what? I'm not going down. I'm not going to get a spanking for something you did. That's what you call general, all-purpose spankings and whoopings. I don't know which one did it, but I'm going to get all of y'all. And so if I get all 5 of you, then I automatically got the one that did it, right? So that is a silly example, but it makes sense. When you think about your garden, it's like you're coming out to your garden. You're like, I don't know what you need. I don't know if you need nitrogen. I don't know if you need phosphorus. Look, I'm just going to give you a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that should cover you. And then what happens is you do that, and it's like you're going into your garden blind like this. And you look for the results, and you're like, I don't have any better results this year than I did last year, because every year you've been using all-purpose fertilizer. And so that is why it's important to get a soil test and to know for a fact. Quit going into your garden blind. Go with information. Go with data. And the best way to do that is to get a soil test. Now, once you have the soil test, you got to know what to do and how to fix it. And so there are many different sources that you can use, especially organically, if you're trying to amend your soil. So for example, if I'm trying to fix nitrogen, there are many different avenues that I can use, right? Now for me, I'm going to do a combination of a fast-acting nitrogen amendment and a slow-release nitrogen amendment. Now, why would I do that? One, I want to get a nitrogen immediately into my plant, into my soil, so the plants can get immediate nitrogen because mine is so low. But I also want something that's going to act as a slow release over time, so that they're going to get it over the next 30, 60, 90 days. That is a much different approach than using all-purpose fertilizer.
One thing I know for sure is that gardening is hard work. And so I just firmly believe that if you're going to spend your time and energy gardening, let's try to be the best that we can and try to get the most abundance. And I feel very strongly about this is that when you use all-purpose fertilizer, that is an area where you may not get abundance and you think that you're doing something good. One of the things with all-purpose fertilizer is that even though it may be balanced, meaning it may be a 10-10-10, because your soil isn't balanced and you're not a 0, 0, 0, then it imbalances your soil. So an example that I just gave you, if you're already high in nitrogen but low in phosphorus and potassium and use a 10-10-10, then now you're going to be overly saturated in nitrogen, which is not going to help your plants. You may have a lot of greenery, which that's what nitrogen is good for, but then you won't have the fruiting and the flowering, which is what your phosphorus is good for. And so that's why it's really important to dial in and know what your soil needs and stop trying to use a general approach. So one of the things that you see me doing here is that I'm getting my things ready to plant some things, and so I'm amending my soil. So many times people will ask me, well, what are you amending with? And I certainly don't mind telling you, but the thing about it is that I'm amending my soil for what my soil needs. So for me to tell you exactly what I'm using and the ratios doesn't really help you because our soils are different, right? And so in this particular scenario, I told you because my nitrogen is low, I'm using several different sources of nitrogen. I'm using feather meal, I'm using blood meal, I'm using alfalfa meal. All of them have a different rate in terms of how they are used or processed by plants. And so when you know that, you know exactly what to use and you know why you're using it. And again, if my nitrogen wasn't low, like almost 0, I would not worry about an instant boost. If it was moderate, then I would just work on the slow release. But because it isn't, that's why I'm doing a double-pronged approach. Right? Now you have things like compost and worm castings that are general amendments, meaning compost, you want to put compost in your plants and on top of your beds just because it's organic matter and it's going to break down and it's good for your soil, whether you do a soil test or not, whether your soil is depleted or not. Compost is always something that you want to add because you want that organic matter. Worm castings are also going to be helpful to your soil just to kind of help the bacteria and the fungi that's already in the soil. So those two things are not what we call fertilizers. Those are just good things for soil health. But when it comes to fertilizing in terms of giving your plants the nutrients that it needs, that's when it's important to have a soil test so you know exactly what to give it. Otherwise, you're just kind of shooting in the dark. And so that's one of the reasons why I made this guide. And I'm telling y'all, this is like a digital handbook for everything that you need when it comes to your soil. I just want to take a brief minute to tell you like what's in this digital handbook. So I have a section in there that talks about why your soil matters. I talk about the types of soil, whether you have clay soil, sandy soil, or silty soil. I talk about the 6 pillars of healthy soil. I talk about how to amend your soil. There's even a section on micro and macronutrients. So not just the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. I talk about the other things that your soil needs and how to get them. And then I give a whole section about how to correct your soil deficiency. So I give you the different amendments that you need and the release rates, whether it's a slow release or a fast release. We talk about cover crops. There's also a section on how to troubleshoot your soil issues. And then there's a terminology guide to understand what some of the terms mean. So go to the shop, livingfoodsfarm.com, and grab it under digital resources. It's $19 and it will definitely change how you view the soil in your garden.
So I've mixed up my mixture for the amendments that I need to plant my plants in the high tunnel. Now, many of you will always ask me, hey, what soil do you use? What's your favorite soil? You'll also ask me, what amendments do I use? And I will tell you what I use. I've talked about the soil that I use many different times when I'm bringing soil in, right? And so I will go through that. But also you will ask me what fertilizer I'm using. And I don't mind sharing, but one of the things that I always try to give a caveat to is that what I may be doing for my soil may be different than what you're doing for your soil because our soil is different, right? It's lacking different nutrients. Yours may be acidic, mine may be alkaline. I may be addressing a specific problem. So like what I'm using in this mixture right here, you may ask me, but it really doesn't matter what I'm using in this mixture because it's for my soil, right? Now, if your soil is the exact same soil test results as mine, that's completely different. But more than likely, your test results are different than mine. And so it doesn't matter what I'm using. What you need to know is, one, what is your soil lacking? Two, how to fix it. And in this guide, I go through, if it's lacking nitrogen, do this. If it's lacking phosphorus, do this. And I tell you what is fast acting versus slow release, how much you should do, all of the things, right? Going to your Home Depot and getting your all-purpose fertilizer is not going to cut it. Not if you want to grow bigger, better, more abundant gardens. So I cannot stress this enough, is give your soil what it needs. So that's number one. When it comes to amending your soil and giving it its nutrients, that's tier number one. The second thing is building up your soil over time, making sure that you're adding compost, organic matter, making sure that you're mulching and covering your soil, right? Making sure that you're not disturbing your soil. Like all of those things, I go in great detail in the digital book, but it's stuff that I've talked about on this channel for the last 3 or 4 years in different and various videos. So if you want a one-stop shop, go ahead and purchase the Soil Digital Guide Handbook, and that's going to give you all the information that you need. Now, when you're bringing soil in, I am very particular about the potting soil that I use. So when I'm bringing in potting soil for raised beds, or when I am doing my seedlings and things like that, there's only 3. So first of all, let me talk about when I'm bringing soil in. So if I bring soil in because I have a new raised bed and I get it delivered because I don't want to use bags, then there is a company that I have been using for the last 4 years. And so I have they have a reputation with me. I have a reputation with them. Like everything in the last 4 years has been great. They're reputable. They are, when I say pricey, there is a local place that is local to me that's like 15 minutes away that I do not use. I use a place that's like 45 minutes away just because I've never had any issues. And so peace of mind, I pay for peace of mind. Not to say that I can't ever have an issue, but for 4 years, it has been solid. Versus the place that is closest to me, 15 minutes away, I've never used their stuff, but I've heard nothing but bad things. And so I'm not willing to give up what I already know has worked to go cheaper for something that may not work. Because one of the things I know, if you get some bad soil or you get something that's bad, it can take you quite a long time to rebuild your soil or to fix it. And so me, over the last 5 years, I have paid close attention to building healthy soil, and I can tell the difference from year 1 to this is year 6. Every year, my garden has done better and better and better. Not just because, oh, I bought seeds from a different place. It is because I pay attention to my soil as much as I possibly can. It is because I amend based on what the soil needs, and it's because I use quality products. Now, everybody's budget is different. I've said that many times before, and I always say, do the best that you can with the budget that you have. The best that you can with the budget that you have. But in terms of good quality soil, so when I get it brought in, I use a company in Colombia called Fernwood. They deliver it to me, and again, every year the price goes up. And so like this year, I got less than I did the year before that, so I can stay at the same price level. I'm willing to do that instead of going cheaper because I know that their stuff is good. I can show you better than I can tell you. Take a look at this clip right here. You can see them delivering the soil. Look how dark, black, and rich this looks. Y'all, this soil looks good. So this is their landscape mix. So it's perfect for like raised beds. This is what I buy when I have new raised beds to fill. It is more even though this is a bit pricey, it is more economical for me to get it delivered and get it in bulk versus me buying 40 and 50 bags. Each bag is going to cost me like between $12 and $15. That's not economical. And so for me, when I'm filling a raised bed, I always just bring it in. Now, some people will say, well, why don't you use the method where you do the cardboard and all that? One, because I ain't got time. I don't have time. And I'm always doing it just in time. So let's say I bought a raised bed in the fall. A lot of times that bed may not be put together until the spring, and it comes down here and I need to use the bed right away. Okay, so I don't have time to put the cardboard and the sticks and all of that. There is nothing wrong with doing that. That's just not what I do. Okay, because I don't have time for it to break down. Plus, I got to go get a whole bunch of cardboard. I got to get a whole bunch of sticks, like all the things. I'm not against that method, but I just want to address in case you come for me saying, well, why don't you do that method? I don't do that method. I just don't, because I like the method that I'm using, and that works for me in terms of timing. So I get the landscape mix brought in, and we will put that in the bed. I bought this particular blend last year, and when I tell you that stuff was so good, my stuff grew beautifully, okay? And it stayed dark and rich and fertile and just, it's beautiful. You can't put a price on that, okay? So that's what I do when I am bringing soil in. Now, when I go to the store and buy bags of soil, whether I'm just trying to top off a small bed or I am doing my seedlings, there are 3 brands that I use. That's another reason why I'm doing this video, because I get this question just about, I'm not gonna say every week, but pretty close to it. What soil do you use? So this is a one-stop shop video for everything soil. So the 3 soils that I use, the brands are Coast of Maine. That is my number 1 in terms of preference. Coast of Maine is in the purple bag. It's an organic potting soil mix. That's my number 1. I love that soil, okay? My number 2 is Happy Frog from Fox Farm. My number 3 is Bacto. Those are the 3 potting soils that I use on my farm. That's it, nothing else, unless I try something new and I like it. But those are the 3 that I have been using over the last 5 years. That's it, nothing else. I don't use the MG stuff. Don't come to me with the MG. If you use Miracle Grow, that's on you. I don't use Miracle Grow. I hate Miracle Grow. It got a whole lot of stuff in there to make your stuff grow. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, now Coast of Maine, Bacto, and Happy Frog, I'm not an affiliate for. But even if I was, I only talk about stuff that I use personally and that I love. And if you've been following me for the last 4 years, you know I have had the same tune, and that's the same bags that you see. Coast of Maine, Happy Frog, and Bacto. Now, Coast of Maine is not readily available to me in my area. I can't always get my hands on it, so that's why I use the other 2. But it's going to be one of those 3 that I'm using. Again, do what you can do for the budget that you have, but I will tell you there is a major difference than buying cheaper potting soil and buying a premium potting soil. You're going to have a lot less bark. You're going to have better results. You can go on YouTube. They've done tons of videos and comparisons. And again, I'm just telling you my personal experience, okay? So that is the potting soil that I use. And then when I bring something in, I'm using a company in Columbia, Tennessee, that's about 45, 50 minutes away from me. One more thing I want to address before we end this video is talking about soil. And I said this at the beginning, and I really want to clarify or add more to it, or add more color to it. I said that soil is the foundation of everything in your garden, and that is true. A lot of people say, oh, it's dirt. It's not dirt. Dirt is different than soil. Soil is a living organism. There is stuff going on down there. There's a microbiome. There's bacteria, there's fungi, there's earthworms. There's a whole lot of activity going on down there. And so when you are feeding the soil, you're not feeding your plants. You want to feed your soul, not your plants. The soil is what's going to cause your plants to grow big and abundant. Think about if you were in a kitchen. There's a cook, there's a baker, there's a person washing dishes. There's all these different workers in the kitchen. Imagine underneath your plants in the soil, there's a whole lot of people working in the kitchen. There's bacteria working, doing its thing. There's fungi doing its thing. There's earthworms doing its thing. There's a whole lot of stuff going on down there. And sometimes we don't think about that. They are working to give life to your food, to your plants, to your crops. And so when you neglect the soil, and you're not feeding the soil and you're not taking care of it, it can only do so much. If your soil is depleted, it's going to show up in your food. In terms of your crops. Your crops may be lifeless. They may lack green color. They may lack structure. Your water may sit on top of your soil, or your soil may dry out too much. All of that is a condition of what's going on beneath the surface. And so if you've been gardening for a while and you've never really paid attention to your soil, I invite you this season, take one step towards paying attention to your soil. Grab this book. If you don't want to grab the book, then go find some other videos where I've talked about it. I don't have one single video talking about soil except a soil test video where I've talked a little bit about that. But if you can get whatever you can, get whatever you can. But I wanted to make it available in one concentrated place, so that we have a video now, that we can point back to, and we have a digital resource that has all of the things you need in there about soil. It will be like your handbook, right? You'll know exactly what to do for just taking care of your soil. In general, there's 3 main things that you need to do to take care of your soil. And then also the second part is, once you know what your soil needs via your soil test, you'll know how to amend it and such that way. So I hope that you guys will download, will purchase it and get the download. Like I said, it's an instant digital download. It's $19, so it's not going to break the bank, and you will have it for years to come. It is all good information. So let me know in the comments if you have questions about the guide, if you have questions about anything that I said. But y'all, I want us to make a concerted effort to focus on feeding our soil this upcoming season. And I guarantee you, again, it's not a one-stop wonder. You can't feed it today and then neglect it for the next 2 or 3 years. Every year you keep taking care of your soil, and it gets better over time. I can tell the difference from when I first started gardening until now, especially in my outside garden. I did my outside garden. We first tilled it up. We only tilled one time, and that was just, when we first started planting. That was in 2022. It's now 4 years later. When I used to dig in there the first time, it was hard. Trowels were breaking, shovels breaking, because that thing was hard, right? But over time, because we've planted in it every summer, we've added amendments every summer, we've added compost every summer, the soil is a lot looser. It's more broken down. I can get in there much easier because the soil is better and it performs better, okay? So I cannot encourage you enough to pay attention to your soil. I hope, y'all, that this was very helpful for you. Let me know if you have questions. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to get more of this good information. And y'all remember, gardening is a journey. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friends.